Do you want to customize the champion management platform in Teams with your own company branding, including customizing that profile badge overlay? I'm the productivity coach, and today I show you how. Hi, I'm Stuart Ridout, the Productivity Coach, and I'm a modern work customer success manager at Microsoft. So if you've seen my previous video, I was showing you how you could install the champion management platform in Microsoft Teams. Now, if you haven't seen that, go back and take a look because it gives you a demo of the solution and tells you how you can install it. But in a nutshell, it's a fantastic free solution that allows you to kind of list who your champions are, allows them to kind of identify when they've done activities, they get points, there's a leaderboard, but it's also got a really awesome profile badge overlay tool, which allows them to kind of have a champion's logo, which appears over their profile badge across Microsoft 365. But it is preset. So lots of people then say, well, how can I do this with my own company branding or my own company images? So that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, so what we're looking to customize here is the digital badge that's in our champion management platform. But the stuff that I'm going to show you today will allow you to change any of these logos. So if you've got your own branding that you want to put in here, what I show you today for the badge works for everything. But so what we're looking to change is if I click into the digital badge, we've got this image here, and I click accept. So this is what is provided as the champion overlay. You might want to have your own one. You might have some specific branding around champions that you want to put in place. Okay. So we've got the GitHub here, which has got the files that we need. So I'm going to download this just for the moment. We'll come back to this in a little bit because we don't need it quite yet. So the first thing we need to do is set up what we call a Sharepoint framework environment that will allow us to make those changes and then repackage it into a SharePoint app that we can then load. So I'm going to click here onto this here. So I'm going to put this link into the description on YouTube. But if you just search for setup SPFX environment, then there is a Microsoft page. So make sure you look for this docs.microsoft.com one here, and you click that and it says set up your SharePoint framework development environment. And this is the page that we're going to be using. So the first thing you need to do is install a few prerequisites. So one is node.js. Now, node.js, there are much later versions, but the current recommended version of Node.js to use with SharePoint Framework is the 10.x version, so whatever's latest in the version 10. So if you scroll down here where the green section is, it says go to this link here, and if you click here, it will take you into the right place. So we're going to download the node.js 10.x, okay, and because I'm on a 64-bit version of Windows, I'm going to download the Node x64 MSI. Okay, so I'm going to click Open File to install node.js. Okay, I'm going to try and make as few changes as possible, so I'm just going to next through this, go next, next. Just leave it all as is and then just install node.js. Okay, and that's been installed. So let's just go back to our Docs Microsoft page. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is install a code editor. So I like to use Visual Studio Code, and that's what I'm going to show you in today's example, but you can use other ones if you need to. So I'm going to go to that link there, click Download for Windows. Okay, that will download, and then I'm just going to follow through and then do the installation on that. Okay, and click Open File. Okay, now because I'm an admin on this system, it's given me a warning saying this isn't designed for installing for all of the users, but that's not a problem today because I'm just going to run it as a user. It just happens that I'm an admin on this machine. So I'm going to say that that's okay. I'm going to accept that. Just take all of the defaults. So put that through. And then I'm not going to try and make as few changes as possible. But one of the ones I'm going to have here is it says add open with code action to Windows Explorer directory context menu. So I'm just going to tick that. That makes life a little bit easier for us later on when we need to make those changes. Okay, and then I'm going to untick that, click finish. And then the next thing I need to do is go through and restart my machine. Okay, so now that's installed and restarted, the next thing to do is install any kind of prerequisites that are needed in that development environment. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to VS Code. So if you scroll down here, it's in Visual Studio Code, and then just open that up. And then what we're going to do is click on Terminal and do New Terminal here, and it'll just pop this terminal down the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Edge, and that's going to, this command here is actually going to install all of my prerequisites in one go. So all I'm going to do is click Copy, go to VS Code, and then if I just right click, then it will paste that in for me. There we go. And then I just hit enter, and then it will go through and it will install all of those prerequisites for me. So this is going to take a few moments. So we'll just wait for that to go through. It'll pop loads of text down the bottom here as it goes through that installation. You can see this here is just ticking along and doing that install. There are a couple of warnings that you'll see in here, but don't worry about that. That's all fine. We just need to wait until we get another prompt that just looks like that before we can continue. So there we go. That's now finished for me. I'm back to that prompt again. That only just took a couple of minutes for me. May be slightly different for you on your system. So because we've done this all in one, we don't need to install any of these other prerequisites which are here. So all of that. So we're now actually done with setting up our kind of development environment that we need. So I'm going to get rid of that for the moment. So the next thing to do is to kind of set up what our badge is going to look like. And any graphics that we want to replace. So just to remind, we're going to be replacing this overlay with something of our own. So earlier on, I downloaded that file from the GitHub repository. If I go to here and I unzip this or extract that file, then all of the images that we're going to change are actually in here. So if I go into that folder again, and I go to the SRC, the source folder, into web parts, CLB home, assets, and images, you can see here all of the images that we use. Let's just make those a little bit larger. So here you can see that this is the digital badge. That's the banner, which is shown at the top. When you go through that process, you'll recognize that these are the badges from that home screen, etc. So you can change all of these yourself. We're just going to focus on changing this one and maybe this one here. Okay, and the thing I'm going to use, so you might have this is all nicely designed for you, or somebody might say that you need to design it yourself. So I'm actually going to use PowerPoint for this because it's one of my favorite tools and you can do lots of awesome things with it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all of this because I don't need this and I don't need design ideas at the moment. So when we look back at this file, here it is here. If I just right click on it and go to properties, I can see that this overlay file is transparent. It's a PNG and it's 648 by 648 pixels. Okay, so what I'm going to do here in PowerPoint is I'm going to go into insert and do a shape. But if I hold down shift, that will give me a perfect square. Don't worry about the size just for the moment. And we're going to make this transparent a little bit, but it's just there for us to have as our guide. Now, in this version here, they've put the overlay on the side. You do need to remember when you're designing this that the profile image is shown as a circle. So you need to obviously not put stuff that's important here or here. Otherwise, it will be cut off. So what I'm going to do is I've actually already got a Teams logo, which I'm going to use on mine. Let me just drag that image there that I've got. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put mine at the top and the bottom. So it's going to go in both parts of that. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to insert a shape. I'm going to pull in a rectangle. Okay. And I'm going to put that there. Fairly large, because remember, because it's a circle, it's going to lose a lot of this at the top. And I'm going to fill this white. get rid of the outline. Okay. And I'm just going to go back onto fill and go to more fill colors. Okay. And I'm going to set that transparency probably to about 30. So there you go. So you imagine if that was a photo, that would have a little bit of transparency over that. And let me just bring that to the front. There we go. And I'm going to pop that logo in there. Now, if you're using logos and images, because it's transparent, you sometimes might want to do things like just put a little drop shadow or something like that. It just helps it to pop a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do the exact same thing again. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste that shape there for the bottom. Okay, and this time on this fill, I'm going to pick up that purple from there. Okay, just go back to fill colors and maybe just go with a 20% transparency. And I'm just going to insert a bit of text. Now, when you're adding text in, you do need to kind of recognize that sometimes the image is shown quite small. Like if you look here, that's very, very small. So you're going to need to put quite big text on your image, but also still being aware of that circle there. So if we go onto here, and we're going to just pick up our font. Okay, make it nice and big. I'm going to make it white. Put it in the center. And again, same as before, I'm going to go to that text effects and I'm just going to put a drop shadow on there just so it goes there. And I'm going to put it at the top there. So I know that it looks like it's kind of out of alignment, but because of the way that that circle works, hopefully it'll all be okay. So what I want to do is just make sure that everything's center aligned in here. So I'm going to highlight everything, go onto align center. That looks perfect to me. And then if you're really not quite sure, if you click on that square there and go to edit shape and change shape and just change that to a circle, you can see where that fits in. So actually I can see that I've got a bit more scope to play with that and move that down a bit. There we go. Okay. And once I'm done, I do need to go back and change that back to a square. But what I'm going to do now is make sure there's no outline on there and no fill. So I'm going to end up with something that looks a bit like this. So just highlight everything again. And I'm going to save as picture. And it's going to go into my pictures just for a minute. And I'm going to call it Teams Overlay. Okay. Lovely. I'm just going to pop that to one side. And then the other one as well I'm going to put in is want to replace this digital badge because obviously we're changing what the badge looks like. So this is 182 by 213. So let's just go into here and I'm going to draw in a rectangle. I'm not worrying too much about dimensions at the moment because I will just tweak this in a little bit. So again, I'm going to maybe pop that as a Teams purple color there. Okay, and this time I'm going to maybe pull in an icon here. So let's put a trophy icon in there. There we go. We'll make that a gold color. There it is. Pop the drop shadow on there. And just going to reuse this. So let's copy and paste that over there. And say, add champ icon. A bit smaller. We've got a little bit more play with this because obviously this is displayed a little bit bigger. So again, I'm going to do this. Highlight all of that. Save as picture. And I'm going to say champ icon button. We will be changing these file names in a bit because there are specific file names that are needed. Okay. So then what you will need to do, just minimize this other stuff so we can just focus on here. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that they are exactly the right size and the same naming. So if I open up my pictures, there we go, my pictures folder, I've got my two, my overlay and my badge. So let's work on the overlay first. So I'm going to use Paint 3D for this. So I'm going to right click and do edit with Paint 3D. There we go there. And I'm going to go to canvas. And I'm going to go to make it 648. If you remember, that was the width. So you can find that by going to this one, right clicking, go to properties and details and find it 648 by 648. Okay, now you can see here actually something odd happened when I did this because it's taller than it is wide. So I'm going to take off this lock aspect ratio and I'm going to uncheck resize image with canvas. And I'm just going to drag that up there. There we go, until it's now 648 by 648. Perfect. So I'm just going to close that and save that over the top. Now that's that. Now that needs to be called badge 648. So I'm just going to copy the name from there and pop that into there. Okay, this one is slightly more complicated because we weren't as accurate with our dimensions, but we can work that through. That's fine. So this digital badge is 182 by 213. Okay, so I'm going to edit it with Paint 3D. Go to that canvas. I'm just going to recheck those two boxes. So let's just try the larger one, 213. Now I can see there that that's smaller than 182. So actually I need to change that to 182. I need both numbers to be equal or larger. And then I just zoom in a bit. There we go. Then we can do what we did before, just uncheck both of those and just resize that till it's about 213. So we'll take a little bit off the bottom and a little bit off the top. There we go. And I'm going to save that icon. Now, remember that's called digital badge. Let's just copy the name for that. And we're going to just stick that in there. Now, of course, as I say, you might be really lucky and have somebody who does all of that design work for you. So I'm going to drag that across and I'm just going to drop those into here and I'm going to just replace both of those files. Perfect. And close that down. Okay, now let's just get rid of that. Perfect. So if we go to the GitHub repo here, now when you scroll down here, let's go down a bit further, they talk about customizing the configuration and what the field columns, etc. are. But very usefully down here, they've given us a set of commands which will allow us to recompile that Sharepoint package. So that's all we're going to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to downloads, because that's where it was, go in there and find that folder. So basically it needs to be the folder that contains those files. Okay, and I'm going to right click and do open with code. Okay, so you can see all of my files are here. Okay, and I'm going to be putting some commands in. So I'm going to do new terminal. Okay, and I'm going to start off with Npm Install. There we go. And then I'm just going to copy that. And again, if I just go there, so make sure you've got the right one open. So if you've got a couple open, make sure it's this one with the files in. And then I just right click and press enter. And the first thing it's going to do is then go through and install some prerequisites that are needed to compile this package. Now, this does take a few minutes. I think when I did this the first time around, it took about 10 minutes for it to install. So don't worry if it does take a while or seems to get stuck at any points. Okay, so that's taken a few minutes. Then we go back and then we go and pick up gulp build. So go here, go back to VS Code again and right click gulp build. Okay, and then we go this gulp bundle ship. And let's copy that Again, just go back to VS Code, right click, and hit enter. These are a lot quicker. These only take just a few seconds to run. So we can just prep for the next one while we're waiting for that to go through. And the last one is gulp package solution ship. Now copy that. So we're ready to go. Okay, that took a little bit longer, took a couple of minutes to run. And then lastly is the package solution ship. Okay, so that is done now. So I can actually close VS Code. I seem to have another VS Code window open. There we go. And if I go back to that download folder where it existed originally, if I just chase that through and go into Sharepoint and solution, then in there that cmp.sppkg has now been updated, and you should see the current timestamp on there. So the next thing to do is to look at installing it. Now, if you haven't already installed this before, then I have got another video which tells you how to do this. So this one's going to show you how to update it if you have already installed it. So the expectation here is that you've already done this previously. So what you need to do is you need to go into the admin center. Okay, and then we're going to go to the SharePoint admin center. So just from the left-hand bar, click show all and go to the SharePoint admin center. Then we're going to go to more features and find that apps tile. Okay, and open that. So just go to the app catalog here and distribute apps for SharePoint. So you should recognize this if you've already done this previously. And then you need to upload your updated package. So if you browse through, this is the one that we've just created, that's cmp.sppkg. Okay, it'll just take a moment just for it to upload. So there you go, we got the green bar. We're going to make this solution available to all sites in the organization and deploy that. And then you can see there, because it's SharePoint, it needs checking in. So I'm just going to click on the ... and again, go to advanced and check that in. There we go. Check that file in. So just to reiterate, if you haven't installed this already, you need to go and look at the other video on how to install it, because there are extra steps that you need to do that we're not putting in place when we're just doing this update. Okay, and then if I just tick that and go to files, and then if this might be grayed out for you, if it is, then don't worry about it. Otherwise, just click sync to Teams. And that will just go through, and we'll just end up with a message there just in a moment that will tell us that it's all gone across. There we go. So now if we go to Teams, so I've already got the app open. So if I just refresh that app there you can see now we've got our new champ icon button that takes us in. I'm going to click on that. And again, like things like you could just replace these with your own. If you've got specific branding for your, your colleagues who work at your organization, you can change all of these images there. So I'm going to go accept, and you can see here now I've got my new overlay here that says I'm a Teams champ, and I'm going to click apply image. And then as before, it takes up to 24 hours for it to kind of be reflected across all of Microsoft 365. So, just set it and forget it. So there you have it. If you're anything like my customers, this is a really highly in-demand tool. People love the profile overlay, but they want to be able to customize it with their own company branding. So now you've seen just how easy it is to do it. It does look a little bit scary, and there are lots of kind of prerequisites and bits to install, but hopefully that video's shown you that you can do this with a minimum of fuss. So if you like this, then please go onto my YouTube channel, youtube.com/productivitycoach. Click like on the video, subscribe, click that notification bell so you get notified when new content comes. And please share this out. If you're members of kind of adoption and change communities or whatever, then please share this video with them, because if they're using Microsoft Teams, it's completely free. And we all win together if we can all manage to kind of make people happier users and get them on that adoption journey. So remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell, and I'll see you again on another video.